Welcome to the United Label Game Showcase. We prepared fun and exciting news on Eldest Souls and Röki's Nintendo Switch version. Join us for in-depth looks at our upcoming titles.
Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector.
Discover the Ability Sandbox and customize your build in Eldest Souls, developed by Fallen Flag Studio.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our Ability Sandbox tutorial for Eldest Souls. There are three key parts that compose our Ability Sandbox system. First key part is the fighting styles. There is three of them, and they will really define how you approach each boss fight in the game. The first one is Wind Slide, and it's all about repositioning quickly and cutting through enemies. The second one is Berserker Slash, and it's all about building up your fury and unleashing massive consecutive blows. The third one is Counter, and it's all about careful planning and countering enemy attacks. Each style has a lot of options in its two branches, and within each branch there are multiple options to choose from. This really gives players a lot of flexibility in how they play the game. Selecting a fighting style unlocks a new bar that keeps track of the fighting style resource. In this case, I've unlocked Wind Slide, and a fan of leaves will unleash every time I attack, filling my Wind Slide bar. Once the bar is full, I can activate Wind Slide. Second key part is the boss shards. Defeating the deadliest bosses in the game will grant players their shards. These shards are the embodiment of their power, and it will allow players to use them for their own. In this case, Corrupted Grasp allows players to quickly reposition by grappling across the map. There is going to be a large selection of different shards, and each of them augments the combat style. The third key part in our Ability Sandbox is the Infusion system. You can choose to use a shard as an active, but you can also infuse it into your base attacks and mechanics. This allows you to modify your style even further and really changes how you play. For example, a standard Bloodburst attack looks like this. However, when infused with the Corrupted Grasp, Bloodburst will leave a trail of corruption on the ground, dealing damage to enemies while healing players. As players progress through the game, they will unlock more and more points to spend in fighting styles, and new shards to use and infuse with, opening a myriad of different builds. Infusing Windslide with the Lightbringer shard causes Windslide to travel much faster. The tier 1 skill Razor Leaf causes my charge attacks to ignite my wind leaves, augmenting their damage. Combining those two, I can create a deadly combo, like cutting through enemies at lightning speed and then igniting my leaves. As you can guess, there is a large amount of combinations of fighting styles, skills, active shards and infusions, and creative players will be able to come up with some truly unique builds. Thank you so much for watching, we hope you'll have a good time playing through the Eldest Souls demo live on Steam right now. And remember, your build, your rules.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Eldest Souls demo. You can play it right now on Steam. We'll have a quick playthrough and show you the intro of Eldest Souls and what you can expect from the full game when it comes out this fall 2020 on PC and Switch. John is now in the first area. You can explore a little bit, go around, find objects and items to know more about the lore, and this is all optional. You don't really have to. You can find these little items, for example the Abyssal Effigy here. You can go and read more about the lore, why you are here and what you're trying to accomplish. This is the first section of the demo called the Abandoned Battleground. I don't know if you, John, wanna tell us a bit more about the lore. How do you get here?
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much before the game is out, but this is basically it's an ancient site of a really big battle, and you know, as you go through the game, you'll find out more and why battle happened here.
Now is approaching the first boss fight. This boss fight actually wasn't here at the beginning. It took a long time before we added this into the game, just because the first boss fight was a little bit too harsh. So we thought that we would put something in game before to let the player experience the base mechanics. On the top left corner, you have 3 bars, which are the HP bar on the top, the rage bar in the middle, and the 3 stamina bars. And unlike other Souls game, our stamina bar only deals with dashes, so it is only used and consumed once you dash, while when you attack, you can just attack freely. And the only big difference is between light attacks and charge attacks. Charge attacks are basically just a powerful attack that allows you to gain a buff, which is called Bloodthirst. And I don't know if you, John, want to talk a little bit more about what it does.
Yeah, basically it's like a very strong buff. It kind of gives you everything. It gives you more movement speed, more attack speed, more damage, and lifesteal. So in our game, bosses have really high health, and you have very little. So usually trying to trade damage with them ends up in you being dead. And the fact that Bloodthirst gives you lifesteal is the only way you can actually survive in the game, by constantly dealing damage and getting your health back.
And we went to a lot of iterations before this. I mean, in the beginning there wasn't lifesteal, in the beginning there was a little bit more balance between HP of the player and HP of the bosses, but the game was a little bit too slow. And we felt like the best thing to do was having this kind of like balance where even experienced player can get in a tough spot if you know that they're not careful of where they're positioned or what's happening in the fight.
Yeah, I think it's very cool because basically we made the game way harder, but also we gave the chance of players to come back through the lifesteal mechanics, so it ended up being more dynamic and more fun, I think, compared to before.
And before there was actually no heal at all. I remember that was one of the things that we actually advertised when first talking about the game a long time ago when prototyping it, that you had no way of healing yourself up like the flasks on Dark Souls, and the only way you could basically heal back was just by dying and trying again. Very similar to, I guess, I mean, Titan Soul is not that similar in the sense that that was kind of 1-hit damage.
I think it's probably similar to Fury, if I'm not mistaken.
Now you can see John is trying to get through the boss, and basically in this boss fight we're just trying to teach the player the base mechanics, and now he's gonna bloodburst in order to break through the boss defenses. And Blood Burst is basically a powerful attack that allows you to trade all the rage that you accumulate into a powerful attack, but then it drains all the resources that you have. In this case, you want to be careful because once you use Blood Burst, you're gonna lose also the benefits of the Bloodthirst buff, like movement speed, attack damage, and attack speed, and lifesteal as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a trade-off because you really want the lifesteal in the game, so it's definitely a player choice to decide if you want a Bloodburst or not.
And sometimes we see a player like trading, for example, using Bloodburst just to finish off one, to optimize the combo in one specific occasion. You can see that you can Bloodburst until the rage bar is more than 50%. Now John is gonna just finish off real quick the first boss. You just gain a skill point. Now skill points are kind of special in our game. You get them to invest into the fighting style tree, and you can maybe tell us more about it.
So we have 3 fighting styles in the game: Wind Slide, Berserker Slash, and Counter. Each of them is quite different, and it really defines how you're gonna fight and tackle each fight in the game. Wind Slide is all about repositioning and cutting through enemies. It's really fast, and it's really about just, keep being on the move and doing quick damage and kind of getting out of harm's way. Berserker Slash is about big hits. It's really cool, it's really fun. Basically, the more you hit, the more damage you do, but at the same time, it kind of puts you in danger because you really want to keep the buff going, the Berserker buff going, so you might end up getting yourself killed by trying to, keep the combo going. And finally we have Counter, which is all about carefully positioning yourself and countering at the right time to deal massive damage. I would say this is the most tactical of the trees because, it's really about, you really have to think what you're doing or you might end up dead. In this case I think I'll go for Wind Slide because I just love the mobility.
I think Wind Slide is also my favorite, just because in most of the occasion it gives you the both offensive and defensive option. You can use it in a defensive way, so you can just build up the resource and then just use it to get away from the boss, but also it gets, there is this special mechanic where you can go through bosses. So it's this, even if you're stuck, for example, in a corner, you can just get out of it very quickly and change the fight completely.
Yeah, I think it's very good. It's one of the situations where giving players mobility can end up in being a defensive tool or just a suicide almost, because if you put yourself in the wrong place, you might end up dead anyway. But I think it's really cool.
And here you can see there's more what we talked about before as well. It just things that you can go around and explore more in Eldest Souls, and you can find more about the lore and information about the characters that live into this world and the reason why you were sent here. Everything is scattered around, so it's not super clear what happened, but it's up to the player to decide if they want to find out more and how they find out more about it.
And I think that's the cool part of the game, is that you can really play it as a pure boss rush game, while you always have the choice to actually take your time and explore a bit more and find more about the world, but it's always optional.
I honestly usually like just going one after the other and maybe take a little bit of time to see where I'm going and, what is this big zone about. So this one is the second boss in the demo. It was the first boss in the first gameplay that we ever did of the game, but we found that the players were a bit struggling since there was not a real introduction of the base mechanics, and now you can really...
It's kind of crazy to think about it that this was the first boss of the game, considering how hard it is.
It's pretty hard, and I think it scales up from the Watchdog quite a lot, since this one is not that forgiving. It hits quite hard, but also your positioning and the way you use your stamina is very important. You really don't want to waste your stamina, especially in the second phase.
Yeah, he has an insane amount of damage and range. Oh, there we go, he's dead. So I think it's really cool to have this boss in the game, just because it really teaches player how important it is to position yourself in the right place and save your stamina. Because you just won't live. Like if you waste your stamina or if you get too close to the boss in a bad time, you're just dead.
And I think having just one talent point, it really lets you focus on the fighting style, ski style, which allows you to kind of get familiar in what they do and what the activables are and how you can use them, to get the maximum advantage out of them.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing about this game, is that, most games have this kind of like kind of easing in the players into the game, and like trying to kind of like, a lot of times I found myself kind of smashing through a tutorial and then like getting really stuck right after it. But I feel like in Eldest Souls, from the get-go, you understand how hard the game is, you know, how challenging it is. So you don't really... Yes, it might kind of frustrate you and stop you at the beginning, but on the long run, it's getting, you know, this level of challenge from the get-go kind of helps you along.
Yeah, I think it helps you with the kind of getting over the hill, I would say, in the sense that the Watchdog, I see some people getting some people breezing through it. It's really just like an initiation for the players. Everybody gonna gets an idea of how the game is gonna be and how hard it's gonna be, and it helps you understand what are the mechanics and how to play the game really. And the second boss, I think, is helps you a little bit understand how you can use the utilities that come with it. So as we explained already, the fighting style is gonna be a big feature, and also shards that you're gonna gain from this first boss fight are also gonna help you through the other fights.
Talking about fighting style, my bar is not full, so I think I'll try to get a win flow going.
Yeah, you always want to try and probably optimize it so that you keep that bar going, since every time you hit, you're gonna get a little bit back, and each of the different fighting style can charge up the bar in different ways.
That's what I really like about Windslide. I can just get right through the boss, charge attack the way.
So now the boss is in the second phase. Here you really want to try to be careful about how you use your stamina bars, since yes, chain combos, you can really get you in a corner, and one of those combos can be quite deadly.
And again, I can just use Windslide to cut right through and get to safety. It's quite cool.
That's one more thing you want to keep probably up your sleeve in case you feel you're threatened or maybe in a corner, get out of a bad situation. It's probably also some of the talents. I mean, if I was a new player, that's probably what I would pick, just because it lets you do both, be defensive and be offensive, while the Berserker Slash lets you be mainly offensive and the counter is mainly defensive.
I would actually pick counter right away. It's so nice to be like, you know, to have the safety option no matter what. While in this one, you actually have to kind of like think about it, you know, because sometimes, you know, dashing through the enemy doesn't mean you get to safety, but you might just end up in more trouble.
That's true. You can also do more aggressive plays, like getting to the enemies with your dashes.
Another thing I really like about the game is that your charge attack, you can actually direction it up to the end of it, so which means a lot of times what I end up doing is kind of like using it actually as a semi-dodge. I think it's quite unique.
We've seen a lot of players actually saving stamina using charge attack just to dodge away. It's another repositioning tool. Of course, you don't get the benefit of the immunity frame, so it's something you need to keep in mind. But they're definitely good to just like, you know,
you can
dance
basically use
around
it
the
to
player.
dash around.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool. As long as you can manage the distance, it's really important to manage your positioning in this game and not get caught by the boss, because it's really, really brutal when it happens.
and Johnny's gonna get first shard. You wanna tell us a little bit more about these shards, what they are and what they do?
It's pretty cool because shards basically kind of embody the power of the boss, and what ends up happening is that the player can use that power for their own advantage. And in the game we have this really cool system called infusions, where you can either use the shard as an active, so in this case I can put it in my active slot, and I can use it as a grappling hook, which is a very good shard, by the way. Like it's one of the best in Mobile because it really allows you to be even more mobile. But on the other hand, you can also use the shard to infuse various base actions. So I can put it here and it's gonna be used on my Bloodburst, and it can be basically infuse any single base action you have, and on top of that you can infuse your fighting style, which is kinda, in my opinion, is very cool. And you know, depending on which slot you use, something different happens, but there is going to be a lot of shards in the game, which means you can end up having a lot of different options. And on top of that, we just kill the boss, so we get a skill point, and what's going to happen is we can pick a different branch. There is 2 branches for each fighting style, and in this case I think I'm going to go with Wind Aura, which is a really good branch. If you guys want to load the demo on Steam, I advise you to check it out. And yeah.
I think Wind Aura is very good for like AoE damage, something that is up there you don't really need to be too mindful about. Something you can, you know, pop on and then, you know, it just keeps going. Here there is a quick tutorial, so you just need to get across the bridge. It teaches you a little bit the base mechanics. John just put the shard in the active slot, and he used it to grapple across the bridge and get to the next phase, and now he's going to infuse into the Bloodburst, which gives him an extra effect when bloodbursting, and this is gonna leave an effect on the floor which basically does damage over time and also heals him a little bit. And again, the game is basically about trying those combinations and finding your best play style. You can really choose how you want to fight and what you want to do. The second part of the demo, towards the end, called the Crossroads. And this section, again, the whole game is gonna be not empty, but desolated, I would say. I don't want to spoil the reason why, but there is a good reason for it. I don't know if you, John, want to give something away.
Probably not, but yeah, definitely the world is kind of empty, dark, and like mysterious, and that's kind of like by design. But the cool thing is, I think, for the players who want to, there is a lot of hints around the world, you know, to kind of figure out why and what happened. And at the same time, if you don't want to and you just want to fight, usually the boss fights routes are quite direct. So in this case, for me to walk to the next boss, it's gonna take me just a few seconds. We also have a contest going on now, so if you want to try and win yourself a key of the full game, you can go on our Steam community and check it out. It's a speedrun contest, and you can either compete in the story mode, where you have to finish the game as fast as possible, or in the Abyss mode, where you have to fight even stronger enemies. Check it out on our Steam page, and wish you luck.
Thanks a lot.
Bye!
Explore the wilderness and the Scandinavian folklore on Nintendo Switch with Röki. Developed by Polygon Treehouse.
They said they were just stories. They said there was nothing out here. They said the old magic was dead. They said there was no such thing as monsters.
Papa?
Hello and welcome to this playthrough video of Röki. I'm Alex, I'm one of the co-directors of the game. We're actually going to play through a new area of the game we haven't shown much of before, the third act. So, well, the best way to explain what the game is about is to just jump straight in. So we will do that now. So here you see we've arrived at a castle at the centre of the lake, and actually, as I'm saying, you're playing as 2v in the game, but the third act changes things up. So as you can see, actually, now we're controlling someone called Henry, who's actually 2v's father. And one of the first things that people tend to notice about the game is fully 3D. It has this quite clean graphical art style, so sometimes when people see screenshots they think it might be 3D, but it's actually all completely 2D, but it actually is all 3D, which is quite neat. So here you can see we have complete freedom to run around, and which is quite cool, and it's actually just really nice to make paths in the snow. Also, if you want to go a little bit faster, we have a sprint button, so you can sprint around as the character and choose to explore as you wish. And we very much want Röki to be an accessible modern adventure game, so one of the things we have is if you click the left stick in, you can see the various things that you can interact with, which is quite cool. And then this is Henrik's backpack where he'll keep his items, but first of all we saw this boat was flashing, so let's go have a look at that. So all the interactions are proximity based. If you want to interact with someone, you just walk next to them and you can look. But for now, let's go and see what's happening up here. So at the start of the first act of the game, Henrik was kind of put out of action. I won't talk about that too much because spoilers. But so here you can see he's been trying to find his kids. He's arrived at this castle, and there's a ghostly presence there. Tuve is in her own mission has crossed over into Uttengard, this nether realm, to try and find her brother. So let's have a look.
Whoa.
So they have a the bond of father and daughter. So even though they're separated by reality and realms, they can still kind of sense each other. So the third act involves the gameplay of Röki by having you being able to swap at will between Henrik and Tuve, and therefore swapping between Innegard and Uttengard, the netherworld and the real world. So it's quite a cool development in the game. So here you can see anytime we can press the triggers, and then we'll swap from one character to the next. And at this point they're kind of aware of a presence, but they're not really sure what's happened. There's been lots of strange and weird things happening in the game. And so there's one of the nice things we try and do in the game is tell the story via the gameplay. And so here we're sort of about exploring and fixing the bond between father and daughter and bringing them close together through getting to Lars, through getting to the tower at the centre of this great castle. So yeah, there's a journal in the game. So here you can see Henrik can see the journal where he can examine. He can look about the notes that Tuve's made. Yes, the journal is where Tuve will scribble down maps and she'll collect badges, and it's how we help guide the player through the game, because some of the areas can be quite big and expansive with lots of different locations and creatures, so it's a nice way for us to get a more of an insight into Tuve's story, but also to help guide you. If you're stuck with a puzzle, you can go and look in the journal to see if there are any notes there that might help. So Henrik's starting to get an idea that Tuve may have got here, but he thinks he's just found this journal in his bag, but actually it's because they're linked in their bond. So yeah, let's have a look round. So yeah, as we said, you can now swap at will between the various characters, and actually we've actually unlocked a badge in the journal. So let's look. So we have these wilderness scout badges, and as you can see for finishing the second act, Tuve has now got a wilderness scout badge. So the journal is a really cool way where we store all these things. But yeah, let's have a look round. So I'm guessing first of all, let's just to emphasise there's a real difference between Uttengard, the outer nether reality, and the real world where Henrik is. So there's similarities there, but at some point these two worlds got separated. As you see, Henrik's world is much warmer than Tuve's, and also obviously they're very different. They're different people. She's small and spry, and he's chunkier. So there's different things that they can do. So for example, there's something that Tuve can't quite get because the world is frozen over, and if we explore more, maybe there's a way that she can get in here. But she can't quite squeeze through. But yeah, you get an idea of the 3D exploration that we have in the game. And this act's about getting closer into the, getting deeper and deeper into the castle. But it's quite a fun way to play, and as you can see, it's quite neat to be able to explore in 3D using the two characters to swap across worlds. And we try and tell the story of Röki by gameplay. We want the player to experience it through gameplay rather than having too many cutscenes. So here you can see Henrik's discovered an explorer's crate. So there's been a past expedition to this island, and the fact that Lars has been taken by the monster throughout the game, you get the impression that this may have happened before, and maybe something that's a reoccurring incident. That's a nice way of being able to learn about the story through exploration, through exploring and finding new things, which is how we like to tell the story. So you can see he's picked up a new item, which then goes into his backpack. So when you have a new item and you want to try and use it, you can hold down and drag it onto something in the world, or you can tap the examine button, and Henrik will examine it and tell you a bit more information about it. You can see if we switch to Tube now as well. The items are shared, so items you pick up as Tube, Henrik will be able to access, and vice versa. So here, she can't quite remember picking it up. But yeah, we need to be able to get through. But there's that frozen item there, so let's have a go with Henrik. We need to get deeper into the castle, but there's a big old gate, which I don't think we're going to be able to get through. So let's try to start off with see if we can get Tube through. So Henrik's a bit beefier. So you can see he can actually open up, so maybe he can fit through here now. But he's still too big. But we handily know someone who isn't, and so you can see now with Tube we're able to come around here, and Henrik essentially has opened up a path for Tube deeper into the castle. So now we're in what appears to be a gatehouse, and we have there's a path back to the beach here and two mysterious item slots. So I wonder if we can find something to put in there. We don't have anything yet. There's a pressure pad here, but then the lever gets disappeared, so there's another path here deeper in. And we're always trying to reach this central tower surrounded by ravens in this act. So we can't get in there yet. I suspect that lever may help us. And again, the ladder is too frozen there for Tube to climb. So it looks like we're going to need to find a way of getting Henrik inside to help us out. But Tube is more agile than Henrik, so she can a bit more fearless, and she can climb and reach new areas. So yeah, that's one of the counterweights. But let's see if we can find something outside to help us. So here, there's a couple of new items. There's a big old rock. And it looks like these are one of the gate medallions we might be able to use to get deeper into the castle. And here you can see again, you can swap worlds at any time. So here you can see we're back as Henrik, and you'll always be able to see the ghostly reflection of Tube in the other realm. So let's see if we can't get Henrik inside to help us get further on our adventure. And one of the nice things about the game being in 3D is it remains nice and crisp all the time. It also allows us to be very dynamic with the cameras. How we couldn't really do that in a 2D game. So let's see. Now we have an item we've picked up. So you can see that's how you use items in the game. You just drag and drop them onto things. We've made all the interaction points quite sticky, so it feels quite tactile to use on the pad and the controllers. But we're still missing one. There was one outside, but Tube couldn't get it because it was too frozen. But luckily, we know a chap who can help. So Henrik has access to some items. And because Henrik has picked up the item outside, actually that means that the Tube has now got access to the item, which is pretty neat. Although at this point they're still not really aware of each other's presence. There's something strange going on, but they can't quite put their finger on it. But now that allows us to use the second gate medallion to help open the outer gate and get Henrik inside to assist us on our adventure. Yes, he still thinks something a little bit curious is going on, or this place might be haunted. He doesn't really know what's happening. But let's see if we can get a little bit deeper in. So here we have, we're inside. So I think let's try first of all and see if we can make this work. So now Henrik's done the pressure pad. I should be able to pull the lever and maybe open this gate. Let's see. one of the counterweights is a little bit broken, but actually as Henrik we can probably get at this ladder that was frozen up for Tuve, and see if anything is wrong up here. So this one's got something missing, and actually Tuve picked up a rock. Even though Henrik doesn't quite remember, it's one of those shared items again, so we're going to use that to try and balance out the counterweights, and then let's go and try the puzzle again and see how we get on. So again, let's get Henrik on here and try our luck again. And voila! So there you get an idea of some of the back and forth gameplay. It's all item interactions and puzzles. You have to use your brain. Röki's a non-violent game. But here you get an idea of how the third act changes things up, and there's lots of back and forth gameplay, and father and daughter have been quite estranged, forced to cooperate with each other and reforge their bond. And you can see there Tuve's starting to realise that that you know, she can smell pickled herrings, which is her father's favourite snack. And so she's starting to get an idea, and here you can see, wow, we've come into this new location. This is actually almost like a hub for the third act, a really big location. And you can see now we've come into a new area. We've got a new journal entry, and which Tuve actually makes a little sketch, and you know, she'll make some notes about the various different areas that she's discovering. So the journal is a really cool area to keep track of your adventures. But yeah, we'll have a brief look round because we don't want to spoil too much about the game. You can see there's these creepy raven creatures who are in these gibbets who react to you as you're going along. There's lots of locked gates to unlock and many different areas to explore. But this is a cool location in Act 3. And a real hub of your adventure. But first of all, let's get Henrik back in to join us before we can carry on our adventure. So again, something's happened that he doesn't quite understand. It looks like someone's helping him get closer into the centre of the castle, but he doesn't really understand it. But as the act goes on, maybe they'll start to realise that each other are there and they're helping each other as they go. And we'll leave it there. Hopefully that's given you an insight into Röki, our modern take on updating the classic adventure game, and some insight into how it plays and how it works, and the level of exploration and the type of puzzles there are in the game. And that's a wrap. We look forward to welcoming you to the Scandinavian wilderness very soon. Goodbye.
That concludes the first ever United Label Game Showcase. We're looking forward to showing you more about our upcoming games. We hope that you've enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for watching.
Yeah.